Tell me when you're ready, guys. I know it's you folks setting up. Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. We're about 30 seconds out. We're waiting for our. How far is that? Just 1 second, guys. Thank you. Standing by for our sign interpreters who are making their way down, so thank you. Probably about 30 seconds, 1 minute. All right. Thank you, guys. Everybody's very busy today. Thank you. Good afternoon. With me today is San Diego Police Chief David Nislight, San Diego Fire Rescue Department Chief Colin Stoll, San Diego Lifeguard Division Chief James Gartland. I want to thank all of the chiefs for being here this afternoon. We are living in very challenging times, but San Diegans are rising to the challenge every single day. And I want to begin by thanking San Diegans, especially those who have taken the proper steps to keep their families safe during these difficult times. And I want to begin today's briefing by talking about new actions that we are taking today to keep the public safe and to help curb the spread of COVID-19 in our community. Things are changing by the day in the fight against the coronavirus. We have to be flexible. We also have to be firm. Today, after conferring with our police chief, fire chief, and our lifeguard division chief, we are taking action to limit the potential exposures to the public and our public safety professionals, all of whom are represented here today. This weekend, in response to numerous reports of gatherings at parks and beaches, gatherings both large and small, we closed down city-owned parking lots around beaches, parks, and trails. Now I am directing City of San Diego staff to move forward with the closure of all parks, beaches, boardwalks, bays, city lakes, and trails to the public until further notice, in order to slow the spread of COVID-19. We need to spend time looking out after each other, not dealing with groups of people that aren't taking this as seriously as they should. Today we received news of our first firefighter to test positive for COVID-19. And as I speak, we have public safety officers waiting on tests after being exposed from others. And I'm going to let the chiefs talk about that in just a second. These are not actions that we are taking lightly. We know we have been encouraging the public, obviously, to get outside during the stay-at-home order. And I want to be clear, we are still encouraging people to go outdoors. But go outdoors close to home. It's time to protect each other. Physical distancing is the key to beating this virus. And that's why we are acting today. It is simply irresponsible to congregate, and it's unfair to the rest of San Diegans who are staying at home. The impacts over some that made the wrong decision over the weekend increased the risk to other San Diegans, as well as some of our public safety professionals. Of course, we will continue to take the actions necessary in the event the public safety professionals need to be tested. But we're really talking about today is the actions of a few can cost the lives of many. As I think you know, the San Diego Police Department has adopted an education-first approach when it comes to enforcement. But the time for education is ending, and the time for enforcement is beginning. I have given the chiefs the discretion to enforce as they see fit. Officers can and will fine individuals who do not comply with these rules. The advice of our public health officials is clear. This action is necessary. The bottom line is that everyone in the city of San Diego should comply with state directives and practice social distancing of at least 6 feet to protect public health of our community and our public safety professionals and to slow the spread of the virus. This is how we will beat the virus and flatten the curve. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Now more than ever, it's important that we help each other. That help each other as San Diegans, as our families, as our neighbors. I'd like to take the moment again to thank all of those that are complying and doing the right thing. Tremendous outpouring of that over the last week. I also want to take a couple of minutes to share information on the additional items that we are watching closely. This coming Wednesday, the City Council will be voting on the relief packages that we introduced last week, which include eviction relief for residential and commercial tenants and economic relief for small businesses. This morning, I also announced dramatic actions to help keep the virus from spreading to our homeless community. These actions include repurposing Golden Hall right next door for shelter homeless individuals during this time of great need, as well as temporarily repurposing parts of the San Diego Convention Center to provide homeless services. The Convention Center has been the centerpiece of San Diego's economy, and during this pandemic, it will be the centerpiece of our fight against the coronavirus. It is part of a new, coordinated, and system-wide approach to serve homeless individuals during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would like to thank our partners at the Housing Commission, partners at the County of San Diego, the Regional Task Force on the Homeless, and the State of California for their partnership. These actions that we are taking are indeed unprecedented, and they will be life-saving. Before I conclude, I want to say that all San Diegans should be careful about misinformation. There's a lot of that going around. So I'd like to encourage everyone to please visit the city website for updates, sandiego.gov/coronavirus. Now I'd like to introduce Chief Nislight, who will say a few words about our education efforts and enforcement. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon. I want to first by saying thank you to the Mayor for taking these decisive measures. The only way we defeat this virus is working all together, and that is following the stay-away or the stay-at-home order and adhering to that. Previously, when we had the bar closures, the restaurant closures, and we moved into this past weekend, we were really focused on education, focused on what the stay-away order meant or stay-at-home order meant and what we needed from our communities. Most of our communities, and I want to say thank you, most San Diegans followed that advice and stayed home. What we're asking now is we need 100% compliance. And that's why we're closing our beaches, our bays, our boardwalks, our trails, and our city lakes. You will see officers out there. We will be enforcing the parking lot closures, but you will also see officers out, again, continuing that education, but moving to enforcement if you fail to comply. So I'm asking you to comply, follow the stay-home order of the state, and follow the orders of here. Working together, we will defeat this virus and we'll get back to normalcy much quicker than if we continue out and we continue to spread virus. Thank you so much.
Chief. Next up, I'd like to invite our Fire Rescue Chief Colin Stoll to make a few remarks. Chief.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. As the Mayor said, San Diego is a resilient city. The San Diego Police Department and the San Diego Fire Department have taken an education-first approach. Guidelines, rules, and regulations are changing daily, and we've had to adapt quickly to get that information out to the public. This announcement today of the closure of beaches, parks, the boardwalk, and trails is to ensure the safety of San Diegans as well as first responders. These changes are made to limit the community spread, to protect you, your family members, as well as our first responders who are there every day to try to protect you. I want to make clear in joining the Mayor, Chief Nislight, and Chief Gartland in sending a unified message that we are here to help you. We are here at work today to help you, and what I'm asking you to do is to stay at home to help us do that. We are at full staffing today. We have all of our members and all of our units staffed to protect the communities. However, we are missing quite a few members today. As the Mayor said, we had our first positive testing amongst the firefighter ranks today, as well as we have 29 firefighters and 3 lifeguards under quarantine and isolation right now, awaiting tests of themselves or patients that they were exposed to. Again, some of this can be preventable. It's all a matter of reducing that community spread, reducing those congregations of the public to limit our folks that have to respond to protect you. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And now I'd like to invite Chief Gartland, our lifeguard chief. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to thank the Mayor, Chief Nislight, and Chief Stoll, and all of the city employees and first responders and healthcare workers that are working hard to keep San Diegans safe during this stressful time. I'd like to stress the message that the Mayor and the Chiefs have said. These actions today are to keep San Diegans safe. In order to stop the virus from spreading, we need to practice social distancing and to stay at home, stay close to home. The beaches, boardwalks, and parks are closed. You need to stay close to home and get your exercise there. If you do get out and you have to go out, please practice social distancing. Stay 6 feet away from everyone. Take this seriously. My advice would be to stay home as much as possible, and if you're out, take that social distancing very seriously. Thank you. Help us help you.
Thank you, Chief. That concludes the remarks, and happy to answer any questions on any topics of today's briefing.
Is there anything specific to being done to protect first responders in case that they do test positive? What is then being done afterwards?
Yeah, I'll let Chief Nislight answer that question, and feel free, Chief Stoll, too.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the question is there anything being done to protect those first responders that have been exposed? And so currently right now, for instance, I have 4 police officers that have been exposed that are showing symptoms that have been presumptive for COVID that I'm waiting results for. They're in quarantine and isolation. I have 11 additional officers that have been exposed that are in self-isolation pending different things. And so what we're doing right now, the county has been very gracious in allowing first responders the ability, if they have an exposure and they're showing symptoms, to be tested. And in fact, I had a test come back on an officer this afternoon that tested negative. He was showing symptoms, and I'm awaiting 4 more. So thank you.
Thank you for that. I guess I also mean, is there anything special being done in particular to handle stopping it before it gets to that point for first responders? Anything different other than social distancing, a few of them wearing masks and gloves?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously we received training on this, and we have the personal protective equipment for police officers. That is, I wear an N95 mask and gloves, and then obviously we're going through the precautionary questions of asking if there's been exposure, if they're sick, if they've traveled, anything that would allow us to know that they might be a carrier of COVID, because that will also allow us to then get the medical attention that they need in case they're coming under the exposure of COVID-19.
Thank you, Chief. Other questions?
I have a question for the chiefs. I'm not sure who would like to respond.
Sure,
but
go ahead.
Since we're going from education to enforcement now, what is that enforcement going to look like? Are we talking tickets, citations, arrest?
Sure.
What is the consequence?
No, I'll let Chief Nisleit address that as well. Obviously, there's going to continue to be a lot of proactive education. Things are changing. We understand that. It's moving quickly. But it's moving quickly designed to protect people and to make sure that people are doing the right thing as we adapt based upon the facts of the ground. So that education effort with our lifeguards who are out on the beaches this weekend, our fire rescue chief, our police department will continue. But I also will let the chief talk about enforcement actions.
Yeah, as a native San Diegan, I really believe that most of those that were out this weekend that were causing the problems at the beach because of the social distancing, they will adhere to these new guidelines. We'll still be in education first, but if those choose to not, then we can use two different codes. There's the government code that pertains to the state order of not following the stay-at-home order, and then there's also a municipal code within the city of San Diego of being at a place that's closed specifically to beaches, bays, and parks. And so we'll be using those. They are considered a misdemeanor, so there could be confinement up to 6 months, and a fine up to $1,000 or both. Again, we don't want to use the enforcement aspect of this. We want people to self-govern themselves, but the enforcement tool is there.
And when we say beaches are closed, this pertains to surfing, swimming, no access to the beach. You should not be in the water or the sand, anything like that.
Correct. We're saying no access to the beach. The beach is closed. That also pertains to our waterways for boats. The boardwalks are closed. The boat ramps will be closed. We need everybody to police themselves and follow the order. Go outside, exercise, run around your neighborhood. But please, this is all for the betterment of all of us. It's how we're going to stop this community spread. It's better for our first responders. It's better for San Diegans, and it's better for your families. So that's why we're asking for this, for everybody just to really heed this advice and stay at home.
I have one more question for the fire chief. The cases that you have, or the one case that you have and the others that you're waiting testing, were these all at one scene, or was this through contact? Can you elaborate a little bit about what we're talking about?
Sure, and this was not from one incident or one fire station. This has been spread out and over time for several days. And like we said, unfortunately, we did receive our first confirmation of a positive test today. But this is anywhere in the sequence of people who have had high-risk exposures to symptomatic patients or become symptomatic themselves. And we have put measures in place to make sure that we isolate them, get them the testing immediately, but also not just protect them, but also understand that we need to protect their family members. We need to protect the other first responders that they're working with. And so it is really encompassing as far as when you identify somebody who is symptomatic or needs to be isolated, there are a lot of secondary people that you need to address as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Any other questions on today's briefing? Not, thank you. We will continue to provide daily updates to all of our public safety personnel. Thank you for the job that you are continuing to do for us every day and every night. To all of the San Diegans, thank you for complying, for doing the right thing. Let's take care of each other. That's how we're going to get through this. Thank you.